We have a bottle of Waterford whiskey. I am a Waterford man. I promise not to be too biased. I might be a little bit biased. Let's jump in and have a look. What's happening, guys? Welcome back to the Whiskey Shed. My name is John McGrath and this is my shed where I take a journey through the world of whiskey and share it with you guys. Now, today I have a bottle from the Waterford distillery, and like I said, Waterford is my hometown. I drive past this distillery every single day. So not a day goes by that I don't drive past it. It's literally just about 5 minutes that way, and I'm really proud of the fact that this is actually opened up and they're distilling whiskey in Waterford. It's absolutely fantastic. So I'm going to try not to be too biased on this one. I might be a little bit biased, but they're doing some amazing things at the distillery. They're really causing ripples through the whole whiskey world, what they're trying to achieve there. Mark Renier bought the distillery in 2014, 2015, I think. It was originally owned by Diageo. It was bought by Diageo in 2004. It was made into the Guinness distillery, so they built an absolute state-of-the-art distillery there. The building itself is not very nice looking. It's not a very pretty building, but like I say, they done it up, built a state-of-the-art distillery. It was previously, before that, the Hoffman's distillery. I can remember as a child the smell of the hops floating across the town. You could smell the distillery throughout the whole town. Hoffman shut down. Like I say, Diageo bought it, built a state-of-the-art distillery there, brewed Guinness there. Then they shut down in 2013, and Mark Renier, he picked it up then in 2014. He bought it for like something like 7.2 million. It was valued at 40 million, so he got it for a song. Now, Mark Renier, he is a kind of a big name in the whiskey world already. He comes originally from the wine world, I believe. He's a London guy. So he bought the Bruichladdich distillery in Islay in Scotland, and he basically got their single malt back up and running, and he was doing some amazing things up there too, some real out-of-the-box thinking, and he got some really fantastic gins out of that place as well. That was later then sold in and around the region of 50 million, 52 million, something like that, if my figures aren't too correct or too wrong. And he sold that then to, I think, Remy Cointreau bought him out there. So he took that money then and put it into Waterford distillery, and all was missing from that state-of-the-art distillery was the pot stills, which he brought with him. He had a couple of pot stills in storage, brought them, installed them into the distillery in Waterford. He had a state-of-the-art facility. It was kitted out far more than anything you would need for whiskey, but he had all the toys to play with there, and so they're making some fantastic whiskies. So let's jump in and talk about this particular whiskey. So this particular bottle is from their Arcadian series. This is a pure organic whiskey, single malt. It's the Gaia, it's called. This is batch 1-1, so it's the very first release. It was released in October 12th, I believe, so it's just out on the market. And the whole point of this is to use 100% organic barley. So they're big on terroir, which is a French word for land, the soil, the area, the place. That's really big in the wine world, that you can take what they say, the same variety grape, grow it over here and grow it over here, and you get two different bottles of wine. They're making the same bit with the barley here in Ireland. So their previous releases are all single farm origin. So the barley comes from a single farm, it gets distilled, the farmer's name is on the bottle. They use a different barley from a different farm, and you can supposedly taste the difference. Now, I haven't got my hands on a single farm origin yet, so I don't know whether that's true or not, but from the reviews I've seen, people say, yes, you can actually taste the difference. The barley is not mixed, everything is kept separate. They track and trace absolutely every single detail. It's a real science experiment. On the back of the bottles, you have a barcode, so you can go and you can track and trace the barley that was in your particular bottle to the particular field, to that particular farm. And like I say, Mark is making a big bet that terroir, the land, is extremely important in barley production. And when he was in Scotland, so the story goes, I think his head distiller told him that the best barley in the world was to be found in Ireland, and that's why he's here. He wants to make the best single malt whiskies in the world. That's his plan, and that's what he's hoping to do. And what they're doing at Waterford, like I say, with the single farm origin stuff is absolutely fantastic. They have some set up there for tracking and tracing every bit of barley. All the barley is kept separate from every single farm. It's put through the distilling process in the exact same way, and at the end of it then you get unique whiskies from every farm. So essentially what they're going to end up with in the whiskey world is a vintage. So you will have barley that's produced in a certain year, bottled, it'll be named from a certain farm, and it's not going to be repeatable. I think that's the whole point, is that you can get a farm barley that was harvested from a farm in a certain year, and it's going to taste different from barley that was harvested in a different year. So you get vintages of barley from certain areas of Ireland. That's kind of the thing. Now with the organic barley, because the yield of the barley is a lot smaller than non-organic barley, they had to mix the barley. So it comes from several farms. So the growers' names are even on the back of the bottle here. So you have John Malik, Paddy Tobin, Alan Jackson, Pat and Dennis Booth, Jason Stanley and Trevor Harris. And they're the farmers that produce the pure organic barley for this single malt Irish whiskey. And like I say, it is certified by the Organic Trust as 100% organic. So there you go, that's the whiskey itself. So as a proud Waterford man, I'm pretty excited about the fact that this is being distilled in my hometown, and the fact that this whiskey is making waves on the world stage. It's pretty proud of the fact. Now I know the building itself was just a means to an end for Mark Rainier. He wasn't too... the place didn't mean as much to him, but it means a lot to me, and it bears the name Waterford. He's all about the whiskey, and that's fine. It is about the whiskey at the end of the day, but like I say, it's produced in my hometown. Now, I heard a couple of criticisms online. They said, I read a couple of criticisms about the whiskey and the distillery. They're saying it feels like a bit of a science experiment that hasn't got much heritage to it. Well, everything must start somewhere. Everything must have a tradition. But the whiskey, the place itself where it's produced, has deep, deep history and deep, deep heritage. Waterford is Ireland's oldest city. The name Waterford comes from the Viking name Waterford, and that means weather ford or ford of the rams. They were the two meanings that it had. So like I say, the city was founded in 914 by the Vikings. Old city walls still exist to this day. Reginald's Tower, right on the quay, not too far from the distillery, was the place where Strongbow married Aoife. And the name or the term, the saying, by hook or by crook, comes from Waterford. Oh, Oliver Cromwell, one of the most hated people in Ireland. Cromwell and Trevelyan, I think if you brought those two names up anywhere, yeah, you could get lynched around here. They are the two most hated men in all of Ireland. He sailed up the Suir Estuary where he broke the spine of his lead ship. Too bad. He landed half his cannon and half his men at Hook, and half his cannon and half his men at Crook. And he said, I will take Waterford by hook or by crook. And that's where that saying comes from. So there's a little bit of history. This is made in a Viking city. Its name comes from the Viking name for Waterford. So there's some history for you. And the distillery has been producing... or that particular site has been brewing beers and stuff there for over 100 years. So there you go. This is the first whiskey to come out of Waterford in 200 years. And Waterford is also famous for being the place that produces Waterford Crystal. So there's some heritage for you to put in your pipe and smoke. Now let's get this in the glass and have a taste. Okay, so let's get it in the glass. Now it has one of those nice glass stoppers, so there's no problem of this ever interacting with the cork, because there is no cork. It has a beautiful glass stopper. Gets a really nice seal on it, and yeah, that's pretty nice. So let's get it in the glass. Okay, so let's get tasting this. Enough of me rambling on. You guys are probably not as interested in Waterford as I am, but yeah, I am pretty proud of the fact it's from Waterford, in case I haven't said that already. But let's get into it. Now I have my phone open here just to give you the details on the cask, because there's a lot going on there. It's 50% ABV or 100% proof. It's non-chill filtered, and it has absolutely no colours or any additives to it whatsoever. The only thing that's in this is the barley, the water and the yeast, and that's it. And that's all is in all their whiskies. He's big believer, let the barley do the talking. The barley is what goes into making single malt whiskey, and that's everything that they're trying to produce there at Waterford. It is purely about the barley. Now it's aged in 42% first fill US oak, 17% virgin US oak, 18% Vin Natural, which is sweet fortified wines, 23% premium French oak, and is bottled at 50% ABV with no colouring, no chill filtration and any additives, and it's totally 100% natural. And like I say, it is organic. So on the nose. So it has a real freshness to it, I'm getting straight away. You can get the barley, I can almost get like a eucalyptus off it. There's a slight hint of mint and maybe some pine. There's a real freshness to it. There's some honey there and some floral notes. Really nice. Now it is a new whiskey, it's a young whiskey. I think the barley for this was only harvested in 2015, so it's probably a 4 to 5 year old whiskey. It's a non-age statement, but it can't be any older than that. So it has a kind of a hint of that new make whiskey from it. But yeah, there's honey, floral notes, barley. I'm getting some eucalyptus and some mint and some pine to it. So that's what I'm getting off that, which is very, very interesting. So on the palate. Still going, still going, still going. Yeah, so up front, I'm getting a good kick of the barley. It has a real fresh quality to this. You can almost taste the grass from the fields. It is that kind of whiskey. You can get a kind of pepperiness to it. It's 50% ABV, but it certainly does not feel like it. There's not a big kick of the ethanol. There is a peppery note that you do get from a new whiskey. There's barley, the oak. It has a lovely sweet honey note to it that's developing now on the back of the tongue, and kind of finishing then with the white pepper, some mint, and yeah, there's a little bit of sweetness in there that I can't quite put my finger on. So we'll go again. Definitely the barley is in there. I'm not picking up too much of the oak, but there's a sweet element in there that's very nice. Yeah, I think it's definitely a honey quality, the sweetness. Definitely honey, some mint, some eucalyptus, barley, then into white pepper. It has some staying power, and then the sweetness comes back around again on the finish. You really get that sweetness kind of around the back of the tongue. Quite nice, I have to say, for a very young whiskey. That is pretty nice. Now, it's 80 euros a bottle. I think it's probably like 100 euros or $100 in the States, 80 pounds sterling. So it's not cheap. Is it going to be for everybody? Well, I can tell you, for a young whiskey, that is probably one of the nicest young whiskies I've ever tasted. Now, I am probably slightly biased in this, but it certainly is. I went out and bought it because it's the first organic whiskey to be produced in Ireland, and it's a Waterford whiskey. So it has extra meaning and significance for me. Would you guys go out and pay 80 euros for this particular whiskey? Well, whiskey collectors probably would. They would probably want the very first batch 1-1 organic whiskey to be produced in Ireland. For everybody else, yeah, I have to say, if you want to get your hands on Ireland's first organic whiskey, you won't be disappointed in this. It's pretty nice. What we do now is what we always do. I'll leave it sit for 10 minutes in the glass, let it open up, see if it changes, and then we'll kind of come back with the final opinion on it. Okay, so having let it sit for about 10 minutes, let's see if it's changed anything on the nose or on the palate. So now the barley is really to the forefront, really strong hint of barley. Again, it has that fresh kind of mintiness, pine note in the middle, and underpinning the whole thing is that honey note. It has a lovely honey, floral honey note underneath everything. So on the palate. So now there's a big kick of the barley. Barley transforms into white pepper, and then the white pepper kind of just turns to pure sweetness. And it's now sugar on the back of the throat. So it goes barley to white pepper to that lovely honey sweetness, and then lingers as that sugary sweetness on the back of the throat. That's what I'm getting for. So it has a little bit of complexity to it, I have to say. It's very, very Moorish, very, very drinkable, nice, light whiskey. It is truly Uisce Beatha. It is the water of life. I think it's a pure whiskey made from organic barley. There's nothing in this, only water, yeast, and barley. That is what Uisce Beatha is all about. And like, the origins of whiskey, like I say, it's invented in Ireland, and all barley would have been organic up until recent modern farming practices where we spray stuff all over absolutely everything. So this is pure organic, how whiskey should be. Let the barley do the talking. And yeah, if you're into, I suppose if you really want to see what Waterford are doing, this will be a good one to go for. If you're into collecting your whiskies, maybe this would be a good one to go for. I see that the 1-1 or the Series 1-1s from the other single farm origins now are fetching silly money online. But for me, whiskey's for drinking, not for collecting. We only get one go at this life, so definitely jump in and taste it. And if you're thinking about a whiskey, it is, like I say, in around the €80 mark, $100 in the States. It's, you know, it's up there. That's not cheap in anybody's book, but for what it is, you know, maybe it's worth a few pound. And Ireland's very first organic whiskey. It's quite nice. Yeah, barley, the white pepper, to a lovely honey underpinning the whole thing. That's what I'm getting from this. So here we go. So there we go, guys. That has been my opinion on Waterford's organic whiskey, their Arcadian series. This is Gaia 1-1, and like I say, it's Ireland's very first organic whiskey. So let's propose a little toast, a little Irish toast, like we always do at the end of every episode. Oh, I should just say another fun fact: Waterford, the Irish for Waterford is Port Loriga, and that just means Loriga's port. And in typical Irish fashion, nobody knows who Loriga was, but he had a port named after him. So there you go. So here we go, guys. May your troubles be less, your blessings be more, and nothing but happiness come through your door. Sláinte, guys. I shall see you in the next one. It's very, very Moorish. There's a lovely honeyness to this, a lovely sweet honey note. From a Waterford man, a Waterford whiskey. I'll see you in the next one, guys. Take it easy.